Hey, welcome into the Sink and Truth podcast. Mark Schlarth alongside Mike Evans. Draft night tonight, the draft. Now, we live in Denver, so there's not necessarily a big buzz around the draft here because we've given up all our picks. Unless you're a Seattle Seahawk fan or unless you want to become a Seattle Seahawk fan, we give all our picks to Seattle. You know, you and I have been calling this, and I don't know if it's the right term or name, but the curse of Russell. It's like the Great Bambino or the
curse of the Bambino.
Or like the Billy Coat curse in Chicago with the Cubbies. This is the Let's Ride curse.
Yeah, and as we know, these curses can last 100 years.
Yeah. Because right now,
so we're early into it.
Obviously, we give up everything to Seattle. Geno Smith goes on to have the best, like his career year, and Seattle goes to the playoffs. The Broncos fall flat on their face. The Rockies get swept in Seattle on their opening series in Seattle. They get swept. And now the Kraken are beating the Avalanche. I mean, it's just it's not good, Mike. It's not good.
Yeah. Seattle, let up, okay?
Right.
Let
you
up.
win. We bow down.
All right?
Okay?
We get it.
Go.
You're our daddy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Say that again? It's a little creepy.
Who's your daddy?
No. Oh, my goodness. Wow. There is a little
creepiness there?
Yeah, there's
I don't know. I don't mean it to sound that way.
I know, but it's just a little.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Like, how would you say it?
Who's your daddy?
Yeah,
You're like, who's your daddy? I mean, it says little pedo in there.
All right, can we get on with the podcast?
I'm sorry. Move on.
Sports. Let's get serious here. What do you make of yet again another quarterback class that is supposedly highly touted, can't miss? We could have upwards of 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10, top 7. What do you make of that?
Man, you know what? Again, it's such a quarterbacks get elevated because they're quarterbacks. So do they deserve to be first rounders? Guys that are second and third rounders get drafted in the first round. Why? Because of the value of the position and because of the collective bargaining agreement. The rookie wage scale doesn't hamstring you forever. So you can afford to take a Sam Darnold, dump him, take a Zach Wilson, dump him, and go get Aaron Rodgers. And you're not hamstrung. They built a good roster in New York in spite of missing on back-to-back whiffs, third overall, second overall. So,
but you're still playing catch-up, though. If you're the Jets, you're still putting yourself in a situation because you overdrafted Sam Darnold,
right?
Overdrafted Zach Wilson. Now you're in a position where you're paying a 39-year-old quarterback $50 million
on a 2-year window, basically,
and giving up picks to do it.
No, I get it. I understand how it works, but that's the nature of the draft now, and because it's such a quarterback-driven league, and you talk about this all the time. There's part of it, Mike, and I've told you this a million times. There's, let's call it 12 franchises that are truly committed to winning a championship. Now, if one comes their way, great. That's awesome. But that are truly committed to actually doing whatever it takes to win a championship. From an ownership on down standpoint, that's who they are. And then there are 20 teams that are just basically letting that cash cow continue to grow exponentially year over year. And I mean, that's just the way it is. So for those teams, you draft a quarterback, you know what it sells you? It sells your fan base hope, because your fan base has been duped into believing every guy is going to the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame, 2018, the Hall of Fame 5, Baker Mayfield on his 4th team. Oh, yeah, but it's Sam Darnold on his what, 3rd team? Oh, yeah, but Josh Rosen, he's the most pro-ready on his 18th team? About? Yeah. Hey, Josh Allen still hasn't gotten over the top yet, but he's proven to be really good. But it took him a couple of years. There were question marks his first 2 years of whether he was going to be the guy or not. And then Lamar. Hey, you're free to go negotiate with any team that wants you. 2 first-rounders. Here you go. Not one. Not a sniff. I saw this. I don't have it with me, but I saw this potential. It was an article of the probability of bust on this quarterback class. So what's the probability of each one of these guys busting? And I think, and I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not that bright, so I was just kind of looking at it, and I didn't really read it. I was just looking at the pictures. But with that said, I think I'm pretty much going to nail this. I'm paraphrasing. But I think every guy had over a 50% probability of bust rate. I think the lowest was 50, whatever, and then it went on to 60s and 70s bust rate of each one of these quarterbacks. The odds are none of these guys are going to be worth a squirt of piss.
Well, there's a reason why, and I've got it right here. So this is
So that's the difference between you and me. You actually do homework and write things down. I just look at pictures and go, I know exactly what that picture means.
So this is a cautionary tale for Carolina Panther fans, Houston Texan fans, Indianapolis Colt fans, Vegas Raider fans, some of the teams in the top 10 that have been linked to these quarterbacks, okay? So I went back and I looked, and I did not count 2021 and 2022, the quarterbacks taken in the last 2 years, because I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that their path is still incomplete.
Right. It's too early to make a definitive statement on Trevor Lawrence or on Zach Wilson.
Okay? To be fair.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So what I did was I took the 10 quarterback classes prior to that. So 2011 through 2020. 10 years. A good, solid 10-year pattern. All right? Here's what I found out. During that time, there were 22 quarterbacks taken in the top 10.
Okay, 22.
And I defined it basically pass, fail, hit, or miss. Was it a hit or was it a miss? Out of those 22 quarterbacks, how many hits, how many misses do you think in the top 10?
In the top 10. So you're talking about 22 quarterbacks taken in the top 10. Yeah, so for me, I look at a guy like Jared Goff, who really played well last year, but he played well for Detroit. When you take him number 1 overall, you're not thinking, hey, man, after we develop him for 4 years, he'll really be good for somebody else, right? So that's a miss.
That's not the plan. Right, exactly.
Okay, so that's good. I'm glad we qualified or clarified that. So that would be a miss. With those being the parameters, I bet you out of those 22 players, I would say 5 or 6 tops.
All right, I had 7. Okay, and here they were.
Okay.
These are quarterbacks taken in the top 10. 7 hits. Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Daniel Jones.
Oof. Okay, so I get Cam Newton won an MVP, career kind of cut short based on the style with which he played, kind of beat up, looking for backup work right now. Also, the same can be said for Andrew Luck. Took a lot of hits, retired early, had some injury issues. But I'll give you both of those guys. For their franchises, they were the right answer. Career just cut short because of the way they played and the injuries that they sustained. Daniel Jones got paid, but they don't want to pay. They didn't want to. Like, do you think they wanted to pay him? I don't think they wanted to pay. Like Daniel Jones.
So the jury's still out on him.
Even
the Giants will admit that privately.
I would say the jury, yes, is still out on. I would not put him. I would put him in a to be determined category. Well, his breakout year last year, phenomenal year. Oh, what a breakout! 15 touchdown passes.
All right, then. So for that,
and now he has 7 rushing touchdowns. To be fair, but did we draft him to be a tailback? Or do we draft him to be a quarterback?
All right, so then by that correct, so then you're looking at 22 quarterbacks taken in the top 10, only 6 hits. Yeah. 6 hits and 16 misses. Sorry, that's not a ratio that I am comfortable with. Let's break it down even more. Top 5. Surely the quarterbacks that go in the top 5.
Top 5. Right? You can't miss.
Can't miss. All right, the top 5 during that same 2011 to 2020 range that we're talking about, you had 14 of those quarterbacks win the top 5. How many hits? How many misses?
Okay, I'm gonna say See, this is where first round to me is a 50-50 proposition. There's a 50% chance of success, 50% chance of failure. There's probably a 25% chance of all-pro kind of status, right, of that 50%. And on the other end of that, there's a 25% chance of complete and total bust. Mm-hmm. Right? If those ratios, at least in my brain, they kind of make sense. I can see them in my head.
But in the top five, you're drafting a quarterback in the top five with the idea this is our savior.
I bet you less than 20% success rate in the top five.
Okay, out of the 14 quarterbacks over this 10-year span that we're talking about, 14 win in the top five, 3 hits. 3 out of 14.
Wow.
Step forward, Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck. That was 2011, 2012.
Right.
Then you got to go all the way down to find a top 5 quarterback that's an undisputed hit, Joe Burrow. In between there, I submit to you RG3, Blake Bortles, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Mitch Trubisky, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Kyler Murray.
Wow.
Tua Tagovailoa. And Tua, not all his fault, but I wouldn't put him in the hit category yet.
No, not
at all.
No, not yet.
So that's 3 out of 14.
And I certainly wouldn't put Kyler there either.
No.
I mean, they thought so highly of Kyler that their owner made him put a study clause.
3 out of 14, Mark.
Well, so what would 20% of 14 be?
All right,
Well, 1.4 would be 10%. 20, that'd be 2.8.
Right.
So right at about 20%.
Yeah.
Wow. That's not a very good ratio.
No, and I think that's something that as a fan of these teams that are looking at drafting Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, I mean, you just gotta keep this in mind. Now, that's a solid 10-year window.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that none of these guys can't really turn out to be a star, but there's a lot of wishing and hoping going on when you draft one of these quarterbacks in the top 5, in the top 10. By the way, just in case you're curious,
okay,
I'm a big proponent. If the debate is, hey, where am I going to find my quarterback? And the argument's always been presented to me, you have to find him. You have to find him in the top 10.
Yeah.
Okay? I disagree with that because here are quarterbacks that were taken elsewhere, rounds 2 through 4, over that same span.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick, Russell Wilson, Nick Foles, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. And also, just again, comparison, apples to apples. Out of all these quarterbacks that were taken in the top 10, only 4 went to a Super Bowl. Only 1 won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes. All these other quarterbacks that were taken outside the first round, you had 5 went to the Super Bowl and 2 won Super Bowls in Nick Foles and Russell Wilson. So it just you can find,
okay,
you don't have to use your quarterback, get him in the top 10, top 5, and the numbers I think would suggest that too many teams overdraft, over-evaluate these guys.
But here's where I guess I always get a little bristly with numbers people because context is important. When you get drafted in the top 5, you're going to a team that probably doesn't have the culture of winning, that doesn't have ownership that's really concerned about winning, that hasn't built a very good team. So you're going into a really bad situation. And so it takes to be able to overcome that, a lot of things have to change. And I think ultimately that's a piece of the puzzle of why guys struggle that are taken in the top 5.
Well, then,
piece of the puzzle.
And you're right. If these top 5 teams are really bad teams and these quarterbacks are coming into bad situations, well, then I would suggest then if you're looking at 14 top 5 quarterbacks and only 3 are a hit, then you got to change your thinking when you're one of those teams. And maybe the idea is instead of drafting the quarterback into a bad situation and hoping that he's going to eventually thrive and you can build around him, maybe you got to build a team up first.
Yeah. And again, some of that is organizational, but I understand that. The other thing is these, second, third, fourth rounders are usually getting drafted into a situation where there's not as much pressure on them, and they're not supposed to be the savior. So those guys, for the most part, that walk into a locker room are readily accepted and liked, whereas there's much more scrutiny on that first rounder that walks in the locker room. And that's just from the experience, man. I see a first rounder walk in that can't play, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me.
You want to tell the Washington story? You're not afraid to mention names, are you?
Oh, no, man. When I was in Washington, we drafted two guys. This is 1994, maybe. Drafted two guys, two quarterbacks. One in the first round early.
I think like 5th overall?
Yeah, I think so. And one in the 7th round. We do our first day of minicamp. First day of installation, minicamp, all this, that, and the other. So all the starters run the first, we got a 20-play script of team, right? So we run 20 plays of team, the starters. And I think we had a veteran quarterback, a guy that I played at Idaho with, John Freeze, great guy. So it was, all of us with John Freeze. Boom, we run the 20 plays. Bam, we're out. Now the rookies and first-year players go in, and they're going to repeat the script. So you've sat there and watched us run 20 plays, right? Now it's your turn to go in. So I'm standing on the sideline with, just watching, just kind of shooting the breeze with the rest of the offensive line, like Jimmy Lachey and Raleigh McKenzie and Jeff Bostic and Ed Simmons, Big Ray Brown. We're just all kind of shooting the breeze. We're watching practice, just kind of casually watching it. And as it goes on, it just goes on for a while, and I was like, I'll be damned. I go, I guarantee you right now, as sure as I'm standing here, the dude we took in the 7th round is 10 times better than the guy we took 5th overall. It's not even close. Like, what do you guys that are drafting players? What do you guys look at? And I don't know him from Adam. I'm just watching with my eyes. Fifth overall pick, he's Schuler. 7th rounder, Gus Frerotte. And Gus went on to have a pretty good career as a 7th rounder and start for a long time. But it was like, it's dramatic. You're like, how could you? What do you guys do with the draft? Like, you run. That's the problem. They run numbers. How many burpees can you do? How high can you jump? How fast can you run? It's all this stuff. That in the overall scheme of things, it's a test of athleticism. It's not a test of your ability to play football. At what point are you guys watching film? What do you do? What is it that you do? What would you say that you do here?
But it's also a test of intelligence, which brings us to CJ Stroud. And CJ apparently did not do well on the cognition test.
Yeah, it's the S. I think it's the S2 cognition test, which is essentially probably a very woke way of saying the Wonderlic. Like, the Wonderlic anymore is like, we can't talk about the Wonderlic, right?
So it's the test that these quarterbacks, everybody takes, but a lot of times these test results for quarterbacks get out. They get leaked. And it's not a good look for some of these quarterbacks. It's really embarrassing because the idea is that, wow, what are you, stupid?
Right.
And CJ Stroud did not do well on the test, and he came out and defended himself by saying, I'm a football player. I'm not a test taker. All right. Is that true?
Yeah.
You talk to quarterbacks every single week when you're doing games for Fox. How much is just football smart versus quarterback smart or book smart?
Right.
Quarterback smart versus book smart.
I think
do they overlap?
I think they can overlap. I think ultimately, if you understand the game and you have great anticipatory skills and you've got you understand like what you're doing, that's far more important. Your football acumen is far more important than your ability to to understand content from a book, so to speak. So there are plenty of guys over the history of time that didn't do great on the quote-unquote Wonderlic test that became Hall of Fame players. And there's plenty of guys who aced the Wonderlic that are very average players.
Sure.
So, I just – the thing that bothers me most out of that, like when I actually watched CJ Stroud film last night. I spent some time just digging into some tape and kind of looking at it. At the line of scrimmage control, you can see he understands where guys are supposed to be, the motions, everything else. So understands what those defenses are going from one side of the field to the next side of the field. I think one of the things that's hard to evaluate about college football is that wide side of the field. There's so much room, and they give you so much more space in college football. But he made good decisions. He moved off of receiver going back, like understanding where the doubles are coming from, where the single's going to be. Like I thought in the film I watched. Now I wasn't sitting there grinding 8 games last night. You know, I was just going through. I was going through a couple of games. I went through the Michigan game, and I thought that CJ Stroud was accurate. Like he was. One thing that I really liked is every ball I watched him throw was on time. There was no wait. Let's see if he gets open. There was boom now. And that stuff, to me, is not about book smart. That's about football intelligence. But here's, I guess, my biggest complaint is every year this stuff gets out. Every year, and it's not, hey, this guy had a great Wonderlic. Let's see him move up in the draft. That never happens. It's about leverage. That's what pisses me off. Hey, this guy's a moron. He had a bad test. Let's move him down. He's not worthy of a high pick because he's not that smart. Let's move him down. And if I was in charge of the PA, the Players Association, we would no longer. I would absolutely make every player. I would refuse to take that test because it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be personal information. It's not supposed to be floated out to everybody to create leverage and to ruin a guy's status. Like, it pisses me off every year. Where is our Players Association? Why do they not have any balls to say, you know what, the fact that this gets out every year, we are no longer going to take it. I refuse to let any of my young players coming out take this test because of the abuse that you guys, you use it in an abusive manner. It's no longer just about the intelligence. Why does it matter? Like, why does it matter? It only matters. Think about why it matters. Because if the guy can't play, I don't care how good his Wonderlic test is, he doesn't move up in the draft. His S2 cognitive test, he doesn't move up in the draft. So why does it matter? It only matters for one reason: leverage against a player.
It's so deceitful when you think about it, because what you're basically doing is you're taking information designed to embarrass a guy in the hopes that instead of being picked second, he drops to 10. Where you, saying at 10, can't wait to scoop him up.
Right.
And then if that happens and you grab him, you draft him, you're going to just tell him from the moment he gets into your building how much you love him and how great he is and how you're so happy to have him. But you're the same guy, you're the same organization that leaked the information in the first place.
Right.
To make this guy look bad.
Yeah, and to hope
What a dirty business.
Right, to hope that he falls to you. And why are we this is personal medical information. That's how I think of it, right? It should be treated like HIPAA. It should be personal, and it shouldn't be allowed to be out there because you only use it to besmirch or tarnish a man's name.
But somebody that you want, that you would love to have.
CJ Stroud was at the start of this process, he was a favorite in Vegas to go number 1 overall.
Correct.
Now he's dropped out of the top 5, I think.
I've seen plenty of mocks that have him the third or fourth quarterback taken.
Yeah. And you can't tell me that this S2 cognitive test, the leak of that information, because it's not supposed to be leaked, and it's not leaked when you're super smart, and it's not leaked for a bunch of other players.
Boy, that's
like
BS.
They don't care about. They don't care about if you're a defensive end that has a bad Wonderlic test. You think they're like, hey, we're going to drive it down? No, he can run and jump, and he's a freaking phenom. We're taking him. It has been a sore spot for me. It's been a thorn in my nail, under my nail. Thorn under my nail? Bamboo shoot under my nail? What do you put under your nail?
Anything you put under your nail is going to be painful.
That's true. That is true. It's very sensitive down underneath the nail.
It is.
The top of the nail?
No,
not so much.
Very durable.
Very durable.
Underneath the nail?
Underneath the nail? Very tender.
Not so much.
No, very, very tender.
So the draft is here. We're ready. It's going to be fun, even though we're on the outside looking in. Seattle.
Well, there could be the potential of a trade.
We'll see. That's a little too inside baseball for.
I understand that, but
Jerry Jeudy could get traded.
Right. If you're a Bronco fan, I mean, you watch the first round to see what Seattle does with our pick. Hey, what are you guys going to do with it? Oh, there it is, right there.
Oh, that's what we could have had.
Yeah, that's what we could have had. And then maybe you look for a trade.
Yeah. Seattle, ease up, man. All right? You made your point.
Yeah,
You won.
You won.
Aaron Rodgers. Watching Aaron Rodgers at his introductory press conference yesterday, watching him walk into the building, doing the daps and the bro hugs with everybody. I think this is a great thing for Aaron Rodgers. I think it's the right thing at exactly the right time. He needs a change. Just like Tom Brady needed a change after all those years in New England, and you saw how it rejuvenated him.
Right.
I think you're going to see the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I think this is exactly the right move at exactly the right time.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons for that, Mike. There does. I mean, what was he been in Green Bay for 18 years? I think. There is that kind of that stagnant nature. Then the other thing that ends up happening to you is maybe lie is too strong a word, but when they haven't been forthright in I think his mind in regards to everything that went down from draft standpoint to, hey, let me give you my input and then just disregarding it, like all that stuff ends up weighing on you as you get older and older and you stop, you know how it is when you get older, eventually you get to the point where you just don't give a crap. Like I'm no longer playing the game this way, right? I've earned the right to at least state my opinion. And so there's a rejuvenation process that you're going somewhere new. Change is exciting. It's scary. It's exciting. There's adrenaline to it, endorphins that kick in, the whole 9 yards. Then the other thing is you're going to a situation where you're not the guy they have to appease. You're the guy that they're going, how are we going to win? Help us. Like, teach us. Like, oh, sensei, like what do we got to do? And I saw this, I think I called 5 Tampa games. I think it was 5 Tampa games in Brady's first year in Tampa. It's maybe 4. I don't know what it was, but it was quite a few. And the reverence that guys on that team had that had been perennial 8-8, 7-9, football team with all kinds of talent, the reverence they had for the way that Brady approached the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, Mike Evans, who's 1,000 yards every year and a Pro Bowl receiver, was like, man, I had to pick my stuff up. I had to pick my study up. I had to pick my, like, it's amazing the influence a guy like that has. And now you couple that influence with the fact that they're going to go to Rodgers and say, what should we do? This is no longer, this is what we're doing. This is, hey, man, let's do this thing. They went out and got Nathaniel Hackett. They're like best buddies to be the offensive coordinator. This is more of, as opposed to a signing of a quarterback, this is more the signing and indoctrination is not the right word, but bringing him in to be part of the process.
Well, he's going to change the culture overnight.
You saw it here.
Brady did it in Tampa. I saw it here with Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And I had been covering the Broncos for a long time. And literally, the moment that Peyton Manning walked into that facility, walked out onto that field, everything changed.
Right.
Overnight. And I think you're going to see the same thing. Jets fans, I think you should be just unbelievably excited. And I think Aaron Rodgers is incredibly excited, too.
Yeah. I think Jet fans have been so browbeat by people like me over the years that they're a little afraid to puff out their chests. You guys should be peacocking right now.
Yeah.
You should just be, like, you should strut. Like, like the Giants, let's face it, you go downtown Manhattan, The Giants are the big brother. The Jets, you're the little brother. It's just the way it works.
I think they want to believe deep down they feel good, but they're Jets fans.
Yeah.
They're conditioned to have things not work out. So I can understand why that's, even with the arrival of Aaron Rodgers, that's still going to take a little time to get over.
Yeah, they may not.
But once they do,
oh my gosh. Let me just say, if the Jets come out and offensively look like a juggernaut in the first 3 games, there are going to be a lot of Peacock and Jet fans.
Yeah.
And it's going to, and I'm here for it. Like, I'm all about it.
Just take a look at what's going on with Knick fan right now.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, Knicks have been irrelevant forever.
Right.
A long time. All it took was one series win over mighty Cleveland, and they are peacocking.
Yeah.
So it won't take New York fan long to get that swagger
New York
back.
fan deserves it, and you know what? And I'm like I said, I'm here for it, man. I love the fact that the Giants made a run last year and kind of flipped the script and became a playoff team under Brian Dable. I love the way that Saquon Barkley came back. I love the fact that Giant fan got a little bristle back to him. Jet fan's going to be an insufferable ass clown, and I am here for it. I love every minute of it. I love it. All right, for everybody involved in the Stinking Truth podcast, we appreciate you guys. Download, listen, like, share. I don't know how it all works, but it works. So make sure you do that. For Mike, I am Mark. Thank you so much for being a part.